Welcome. It is day 2, or I guess day 4 of the 69th nice running of the Dodge Powerbrokers U.S. Nationals. Bit of a different scenery. We're within the pro category pits for the Dodge Powerbrokers U.S. Nationals for the Camper World Series. We decided we're going to take a walk through the pits, show you around who's here, who's not here, and how they're doing so far this season. So to start up behind us, we have the Harlow Salmons racing team of the McGaheys. Chris and Mason McGahey currently qualified 12th and 13th in pro stock after Q1 last night. They had a strong start to the season, making the final round back in Gainesville, losing to Troy Coughlin Jr. Since then, we have not really seen much of the pace that we might have expected out of them. They've had a decent running in the mid-pack, but have not really been a front runner this season for the two Camaro cars. The same pinstripes that they have. Obviously, we have Chris with the silver and carbon fiber stripe, and then we have Mason with the neon green and chrome blue look. So they're going to try and improve as they head into Q2. We're going to move on to the next pair. Next up, we're going to look at is the Elite Camp. First up, we have, I believe this is going to be Aaron Stanfield. Aaron was looking like he started to have it figured out. Strong start to the season so far. Has ran strong up there towards the top half of the field, but has really yet to get that first wally. But it's getting there as we have Matt Hagan coming up behind us. This could be a weekend that he could break out and get the first wally of the season and get his first U.S. Nationals wins. He's running in the factory stock showdown in the Camaro like he always is, so running double duty like he has all season, but now looking to try and score a pro stock win at the U.S. Nationals. Right next to him, Troy Coughlin Jr. started off the season by winning the Gator Nationals back in Gainesville. Didn't really see much of him throughout the regular season. Then he came back and won the final Mile High Nationals at Bandamere Speedway. Now comes here to the U.S. Nationals, where the Coughlin, the Jeggs family, has had so much success in the past. His father, Jeg Coughlin, and so forth, having such incredible success at this event. And this one is still one that he's looking to achieve and get a U.S. Nationals victory. Moving on, Miss Five-Time champion, former U.S. Nationals champion, Erica Enders, right now qualified in the 4th position after Q1. She has, for the start of the season, very uncharacteristic of a reigning champion. She struggled at the entire season, multiple first-round losses, not a season that she would want to remember. And then she started to pick it up towards the end, got her first win of the season back at Topeka, and since then has really started to figure out, my bad, she got her first win back at Bristol for the Thunder Valley Nationals at that race, I should know that. And then she won again in Topeka at the delayed race. So a good start to the season for her, looking to try and redeem it, maybe get a U.S. Nationals heading into the countdown to try and boost her championship hopes in the standings. Only time will tell as we look for the next 4 sessions. Now we have Bo Butner. Right now he is currently qualified down in the 15th position. Not a good qualifying start for the Johnson's Horsepower Garage Camaro, the sister car to Erica Enders. Has had somewhat of a decent season. He's been a strong contender for the Elite Camp where Erica has fell off, but again, have yet to see that first wally for them. Now we head in. We have Jerry Tucker. Was announced at the beginning of the season that he was going to have a full-time ride with this team. Got a new sponsor with Outlaw Mile High Light Beer, adorning this silver Camaro. Had an incredible start to his career. Gotta give him credit for the horn. An incredible start to the career for him at Elite. He had a really strong start back at the Gator Nationals in Gainesville. Again, been a really strong competitor where a lot of the Elite teams have fell off. He has been really the one bright spot of the consistency throughout the entire season, besides Troy Coughlin Jr. and Aaron Stanfield, as he has been the guy to really been a strong start. Again, right now qualified in the 14th position, also not a good start. After Q1 in the sunset, he's going to try and improve that. Now down to the Quadra family. This one, I'm trying to remember which one this is. There's like a bunch of them, so it's always hard to tell which one this is. Let me see if I can't find it. This is Fernando Jr. Fernando Quadra Jr. currently qualified 7th highest of the Quadra family, the Corral Boots Camaro. Again, he's really been the strongest performing Quadra last season. Last year, he made the semifinals at the U.S. Nationals, and then he fell up short, losing to, I believe, Greg Anderson, who went on to win the race. And right now, again, going into this U.S. Nationals, he has not had the best season. He has had some races where he almost failed to make the race. I think he actually did fail to make the race a couple races ago, maybe a few months ago. I'm not exactly sure. But still, currently qualified 7th, moving down the list. Sorry, I don't really do this too much. I'm not really used to how this is, and especially when you have 4 cars with the exact same paint scheme, it gets kind of confusing. Now, this is the one I would recognize, the Ford Mustangs. This is going to be Christian Quadra. Christian Quadra has been the one that's performed all season so far for the Quadra family, has really shined high, while Fernando Jr., Fernando Sr., who has missed multiple races this season, has really fell off. But Christian has had a couple races where he had a good shot of winning in a national event, but fell up short to the KB Titan engines. Obviously with a Ford Mustang engine, but with kind of a Camaro built engine. They're still working on getting a Ford engine inside that car. They keep talking about bringing it. We have yet to see it, but it keeps looking like it's going to become nearer and nearer. And then we have David Quadra, made his first ever appearance in a Pro Stock car back at the 4-wide Nationals. Had the iconic Quadra 4-wide salute to end off Q4, where I believe David, I think he got the 16th and final spot, but still learning to try and run these cars as he gets used to it. Then this is going to be Fernando Quadra Sr. Had a decent start to the season. I believe he made the Gator Nationals. Ever since then, he has just failed to make races back to back to back to back to back. It's been a very, very poor season for Quadra Sr. as he looks to try and turn it around. Right now, I believe he's qualified in the 11th position, so a good turnout for Q1. He's going to try and hope that holds on for the rest of the weekend. Now, the KB Titan team. This team has really come alive this season. Not exactly KB Titan. This is a KB Titan engines, I believe. But regardless, Matt Hartford has had such an incredible season so far. Honestly, I would use him right now as my pick to win the U.S. Nationals just because of the type of season he has had. Has just been so strong throughout the entirety of the season, either being a semifinalist guarantee or making the final round, and even so far winning it. He won it back at Norwalk. I believe that was his last win as he heads into the U.S. Nationals. #1 qualifier after Q1 last night with a run of 6.569. I believe he's the only person within the 6.5s. So that was a good start for her. Camry Caruso, breakout season for her. First win of the season came back at Arizona. It was a much anticipated win going into this season. A lot of people asked who's going to be the first-time winner that's going to happen this season. Camry was the first one to strike. Wins at Arizona. Strong performances throughout the rest of the season with a highlighting win, winning the first ever All-Star call-out back at Chicago. She has not really won a race since then, but she has had very strong performances. You can see her there walking into her trailer. Now, the 5-time Pro Stock champion of the world and reigning Pro Stock U.S. Nationals champion, Greg Anderson, has yet to win this season. Much of the same story from last year. He's had strong performances, has really started to come alive, but again, much like Erica, an uncharacteristic season for what we expect of a 5-time Pro Stock champion, regarded as one of the best racers of the class. Has ran towards the bottom half of the field throughout most of the season and has been kind of forgettable for him. But now, in these last few races, has really started to pick up the boost and is now starting to make his name known again in the Pro Stock category. And this could be a weekend where he has a breakout win and goes back-to-back in Indy. Then we have Kyle Koretsky. Kyle Koretsky so far in the 6th position. The family obviously owns now Maple Grove Raceway. Has been there. Has had a couple good performances throughout the latter half of this regular season, but again, has not really made too much noise. Could be a weekend where he has a strong point steady going into the countdown. Is definitely what he's going to need if he wants to try and have a championship hopes. But again, with this KB Titan performance and having the sister car, I believe, to Greg Anderson, this could be a weekend to remember for him. And then the other person. We talk about Matt Hartford being a guaranteed winner throughout most of the season. Who was the person that's been a kryptonite? None other than another KB Titan engine with being 00 Dallas Glenn. What was supposed to be the final Arizona Nationals is where we saw Matt Hartford potentially get his hometown win in his last shot until it was stolen from him by Dallas Glenn. An incredibly competitive season. If Matt Hartford doesn't win his championship, it better be Dallas Glenn, because if not, then it's going to be a really huge fumble from the KB Titan team, because the last thing they want to do is let the Elite Motors camp catch up to them. So with the two powerhouses being Dallas Glenn and Matt Hartford with KB Titan engines, it is definitely going to be hard to try and beat these two going to the U.S. Nationals. And if Matt Hartford doesn't win this event, it's more than likely going to be Dallas Glenn. So we're going to take a quick break real quick, let the camera cool down, because I think it's about to catch on fire, and then we'll go over to the next row and we'll catch you up there. Right, we now join you from the middle of kind of this back area of the pits. Over here you see some of the pro mod bikes that have come here, part of the sportsman program of the NHRA US Nationals this season. First pro stock team that we're going to look at on this end. Eric Latino currently qualified down in the 16th position with a 13.548. It kind of shook the tire short of the starting line and then coasted it to the end. Has not been a good season for him in the part-time schedule that he's ran. Has had some impressive runs, but has really struggled to make the show, and if so, he's more likely a first round exit as he looks to try and prove me wrong and maybe get past the first round here in Indianapolis. Then next to him, Derek Kramer, someone who's had an incredibly strong performance to begin the season. Won, I believe, I know he won the 4x Nationals at Charlotte, went on to win Chicago, and has been a really strong front runner throughout the entire regular season, and could be another person to look out for as a really big championship threat to the KB Titan, which just goes to show another KB Titan performance engine inside that car, along with Matt Hartford and Dallas Glenn, as he's going to try and win a Pro Stock championship. Currently not qualified for the US Nationals because they went to go do the burnout last night, had to push the car off the starting line because of the fact that it had a wheelie bar issue. So far, he has not set a time and is not even on the qualifying list for the US Nationals. I'm trying to think what it is. Look on top of the engine scoop. Burnout King. You like burnouts? Derek Kramer likes burnouts. Really likes burnouts. Move on over here. Chris Bostick. Qualified currently 12th here at the US Nationals. Has had kind of an up and down season, some strong performances, had a lot of struggles. I believe he ran a Vance and Hines bike as kind of an R&D bike for the team, which really helped him out a lot as he looks to try and get a stronger performance. I believe he is on the new Gen 3 Hayabusa, if I'm correct, as he's going to try and get a stronger run here at Indianapolis. I believe it's his hometown race. I think this trailer is from Plainfield, if I remember correctly. Over here, Steve Johnson. What can you say about Steve Johnson? One of the most energetic guys you can ever meet. Kind of second to John Force, is one of the greatest personalities in the pro stock motorcycle ranks and in all of the pro categories. Won back at the Thunder Valley Nationals in Bristol, Tennessee. Has had a lot of strong performances. Currently top 5 in points in pro stock motorcycle, if I'm correct. Has a new Gen 3 Hayabusa. Thanks to Suzuki for helping him out with that. Has really turned up the wick to try and have a strong performance here in the regular part of the season. Across the alley, the Matt Smith Racing Compound. Obviously, we have Angie Smith, the pink bike. That is the Buell that Matt Smith ran last year. Has had an incredibly strong season. Has yet to score the first Wally of the 2023 season for her, but she has been the front runner for the Matt Smith Racing Camp. The qualifying sheet so far this weekend would not show that. She is currently not in the show, qualifying 17th with a 9.531. Is going to come out here for round 2 of qualifying. More than likely you're going to see that car go top half. I would almost guarantee that. Or maybe they might just play it safe and try and get the car into the show and then go from there. Look further down, the black bike. That is the Gen 3 Hayabusa Suzuki of Matt Smith. Matt had to abandon the Buell that he had ran so much here, that had so much success, won the US National with last year, to go with the factory support from Suzuki, and has really struggled to get his feet planted to try and have a strong performance on that bike. Has started to turn around, starting to look like a front runner again, and could have a good shot of winning the US Nationals. He is currently qualified 5th with a 6.882. He's going to try and improve on that, but again, not this season we expected out of him. It's been a struggle for a lot of the reigning champions so far this season. Next to them has the Matt Smith Racing support, but it is a Scrappers Racing. Gianna Evaristo on the Valley Services bike. Last year had a really good performance at the US Nationals, made it deep within the rounds. Had a strong performance back at Gainesville, I believe making all the way to the semifinals. And again, just had a strong performance as she learns to get her feet on this bike. And with the support of Matt Smith behind her, she could really easily become a front runner in this category. Over here, you're going to start to see some of the fuel cars make their appearances. Dave Richards, one of the smaller teams within the funny car category. He got invited to the PRO shootout for Brainerd next season as he tries to get more speed out of that car. Currently in funny car, qualified all the way down in 12th position with a 4.121. Has a good shot at making the show. I don't see why he couldn't. But remember back at Gainesville, went to do the burnout against John Force in round number 1, could not get the car out of reverse and ended up having to let go of it. Ron Torno in the Pro Stock motorcycle had a the biggest upset of the season last year here at the U.S. Nationals. Number 16 qualifier going into that race ends up bumping on Jail Sam. I don't know why the motorcycle. I can't remember the name. On Jail Sampay. How nice of him. Number 1 qualifier gets bumped out by the number 16 qualifier. Gonna try and do better and go further into the rounds. You can see me go through the crowd. There's a pro stock motorcycle warming up. Dan Mercier, another top fuel team. The team with a little that can do a whole of a lot. Currently qualified right now in the 16th on the final bump spot. Smoked tires in queue number 1 with a 5719 as he looks to try and improve going into queue number 2. Looking over here. I can't get a good look at that bike. I don't know who that is in there. I'm gonna try and take a look. That's Mark Ingerson. Thanks, Mark. I'm not gonna talk about you because you decided to warm up your bike. I can't hear myself think. My throat's getting dry. How rude. Bobby Bodie. I'm really surprised that this team was able to make it here. If you watched back at Brainerd last week in round number 1, had an incident where he scraped the wall and tore a hole off the side of the body, got out of the car, was an emotional mess because he's worried that he damaged the chassis on his funny car. Now he finds himself here, kind of a Frankenstein body of a car. I think he kind of threw a bunch of pieces together to try and get it here. It looks like the chassis was fine. He was able to make it here okay. Currently qualified in the funny car ranks down in the 10th position. So almost a top half qualifying result for the team as they look to try and improve this season. Going to the U.S. Nationals, has a strong performances. You remember back at Houston of last year where he lost in the final round, smoking the tires to Matt Hagan and spiked his helmet on the ground until he started buying him a new one. Over here, Hector Arana Jr. has had a lot of strong performances. He had a lot of strong performances last to end the 2022 season. Was rumored to maybe lose his ride that he had, and then found the sponsors with Get RX, and now finds himself one of the front runners in the pro stock motorcycle category that is outside the Vance and Hines camp. One back in Norwalk has had multiple strong performances throughout the season. Could very possibly, if the Vance and Hines team falls off, could very easily capitalize on that and take the win from them. Over here, White Alligator Racing. Chase Van Sant had an incredibly strong performance at Gainesville. Looked like he was going to win the race. I believe he made the finals. He lost to Angie Smith, who went on to lose the NHRA of that race. Has had multiple strong performances. Kind of fell off after Gainesville, but has since then started to take it back here in the Pro Stock Motorcycle ranks on that Trick Tools bike in his debut season, riding for the Jerry Savoy team. We look down over here. Everyone's favorite team. Everyone always tells me, hey, you gotta go talk about Lex June. Give me more about Lex June. Well, here's Lex June. Running a 1999 chassis. This is a Corey McLennan Joe Gibbs racing chassis. I don't know the chassis number, but I would not be surprised if this was the 99 chassis that Lex went on to win the U.S. Nationals with. Has had a decent performance so far in Top Fuel this weekend. Currently qualified 13th, made his first ever race of the season back at Topeka, and looks to try and do that again and qualify for the U.S. Nationals. I talked about Vance and Hines, how if Hector Arana Jr. can capitalize on their mistake, then he could more than likely win this event. Well, here's the team he has to beat. Vance and Hines camp. This team has been an absolute front runner this season. Where Matt Smith Racing dominated them last season, they have come back and curb stomped the Matt Smith Racing camp and has been an incredible performance. Eddie Krawick's had some strong performances, but the star of the show in his first ever season on the Vance and Hines bike, and number 79, the first bike you see right there, that is Gage Herrera. Has won over half the races, dominating the point standings, going into the countdown, going to have the points reset. Going to have to try and capitalize on to keep Matt Smith at bay as well as the other riders. But going to the U.S. Nationals right now, currently qualified at number 1 with a 6.746. Could very easily be the person to win this race in dominating fashion. Then over here we have Kelly Klontz. Just got herself the new Gen 3 Hayabusa body. Currently qualified in the U.S. Nationals after one round of qualifying down in the 16th position. So currently on the bump spot as she tries to advance her way up into queue number 2. You can see her there working on her own bike. Look across the way over here. Foley Lewis Racing. the Doug Foley camp. Currently qualified after one round of qualifying. He finds himself in the 11th position. Was at here testing last weekend here at Indianapolis Raceway Park. Now finds himself qualified pretty well into the field. A lot of the teams smoked their tires last night in Q number 1. So, an incredibly strong performance for him as they look to advance themselves into Q number 2. And then the last ones end themselves here on this row of cars. Again, sorry I can't talk too much. My mind's racing, it's hot outside, and my throat's going dry. Last up, Ryan Ayler, flying around on the El Bandito Yankee Tequila Company. This beautiful number 10 Pro Stock motorcycle, that blue bike. You can see right here the Tampa Bay Race Reynolds Mustang that I believe she's going to be racing on Gel Sampan later today. Right now, Ryan Ayler qualified 10th with a 7003. Going to try and improve going into Q number 2 throughout the rest of the day. But man, with the heat right now, I'm not sure it's going to happen. All right, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to drink some water. It is hot outside. And then we'll move on to the fuel camps. All right, now we find ourselves in the first row of the Nitro camps. This is closest to where the tower is. We're at the end of the grandstand, close to the starting line. It's right now sitting next to the Paul Lee camp. Paul Lee right now in funny car qualified. I don't see him on the list. I don't think he qualified last night. That might be the one I was missing from my qualifying list. Driving a number 116 FTI car. Gonna try and improve and get himself into the show. Moving across the way as we have a golf cart coming over here. Yeah, probably one of the bigger camps here, but not really in the way that you would think. This is Bob Tasca's pit, the Ford Motorcraft, the factory back Ford entry. I believe right now the only Ford car and funny car that's on a new gen Mustang body. Had a very strong performances throughout the season. I really looked at him as someone who's one of the stronger competitors to look at. A lot of people may have doubted that. And he started the show when I believe in him. Back in Norwalk, if you watched last night's video, I talked about the fact that I asked him on Saturday what it meant to have people overlook you. Going to guys like J.R. Todd, going to guys like Cruz Pedregon while you're sitting there as one of the top guys in the series, just not in that top 3. And he said it fired him up. It really fired him up. He has not had the performances throughout the summer months to be expected out of him, but again, has been very consistent. He won a Wally a couple races ago, if I'm correct. But again, just trying to get the pieces together to connect to try and run for that top 3 position. Across the way, you can see him right there, driving the Hulk machine. Buddy Hull came into this race with a new sponsor, Methanol Moonshine, on the car, but this weekend he's running a new body, the Purple Hulk machine body. Went into Q number 1, blew the engine off, which is why you can see that car kind of still disassembled as they try to put it back together for Q number 2. And an absolute kabang, blew the entire thing apart. A huge fireball on the car. Right now, not qualified into the show, is going to try and improve on that. Moving down the way. Now, we're in the Coletta camp, the Toyota camps. First up, driving a Coletta Air top fuel dragster, this being Sean Langdon. When going into the start of the season, a lot of people looked at Doug Coletta and J.R. Todd being the guys to look at as leading the Coletta campaign to try and get themselves back into a winning position. Well, Sean Langdon's been there, and he's really outperformed where Doug Coletta has struggled so far this season. Has had incredible runs throughout the season, has semifinal appearances multiple times. He had a final round appearances a couple races ago. Has strong performances throughout the 2023 campaign. Now running, again, multiple sponsors, had some incredible cars to start out the 2023 season. And now, here at the U.S. Nationals, after one round of qualifying, he finds himself in the 9th position, one spot out of the top half, and he looks to try and improve on that in Q number 2, I believe. All right, so Doug Coletta is 4th. So again, an incredible performance for him. I expect him to be one of the front runners going into the championship. Over here, Terry Havoc Haddock. At the beginning of the season, some incredible performances. Gainesville was a race to forget. Arizona qualified 5th, ran it deep into the rounds. Pomona was the big race for them, ran it all the way to the semifinals, almost had a good shot at winning that race before losing to Matt Hagan. You can see Terry walking up over here as he works on the car, getting ready for Q number 2. Across the way, Doug Coletta won the U.S. Nationals back in 2019, the emotional win for the Coletta family. Connie tried so many years, won in '94. Doug, same exact pain, wins it in 2019. I believe he won it again a couple of years later in the Mac Tools machine. He has ran Mac Tools forever. Basically a Mac Tools ride or die driver for this team with a Toyota engine. Right now qualified, like I said, number 4 position going into Q number 2. Some incredible strong performances. Could be someone to watch for as we head into this race. Someone you should watch heading into this race is TJ Zizzo. TJ Zizzo made his first start of the season back in Chicago, and it was absolutely on rails. Ran this thing deep into the ladder, all the way into semifinals. Could have very easily won this race. Ended up smoking the tires in the semis, which ruined the fairy tale dream. Now comes back here with the Rust-Oleum team and is back and better than ever. Had an incredible qualifying effort last night. Finds himself in the 7th position. So top half qualifying for a single car team with not that many support, unlike the other big teams around him. Look next door. Another team that has not as much funding as some of these factory teams across the way. Blake Alexander had of all the drivers, has had the fairy tale run so far. Went to Norwalk, won there, an emotional event. He cried on the top end. You could tell how much it meant to him to win a national event, his first win since 2018. Since then, he did not run at Denver, came back for the rest of the races, and has had some pretty strong performances ever since then, but not as equal to what he had there. Gonna keep walking. Giant Hospitality Center for Coletta, expect nothing less. JR Todd, another strong competitor. Won back at Sonoma. Everybody expected him to be the front runner of this season for the Coletta camp with the DHL Dragster after having a disappointing 2022 season. Didn't have the start of the season that he wanted. Made the final round at Gainesville. Did not see him for the rest of the season up until Sonoma. Got beef at Seattle with Alex Laughlin. Kind of one-sided. JR got over it real quickly after he won at Sonoma, but Alex had his fun. Over here, Clay Milliken, the Parts Plus. What used to be, I believe, Biohaven, now Valvoline, as they're about to warm up the car. You can see Clay inside the cockpit about to warm up the car to get ready for Q number 2. Smoked the tires, currently not qualified in the event, qualified in the number 18 position. We know how strong this car is. Started off the season very disappointing if they're going to try and speed through this, but then bounced back. Won the final ever. So he won the return race for Chicago, the Route 66 Nationals. That was a big win for them. Then backs it up, winning the final ever Mile High Nationals, and has since then has had an incredible string of performances for that team. As you can look back there real quick at them. I genuinely believe. Be careful about that team because they're going to be a strong front runner. I generally do expect them to win more races this season. I expect at least one more national event win before the season's up. We're going to cut it away for them. All right, so warm-up finish for them. We're going to end off here on this row. Alexis DeJoria. Just an incredible season so far for her this season. A lot of people expected that of all the guys. Yeah, pose for the camera. Come on, man. Yeah, go hard. A lot of people going into the season were saying that maybe Alexa should lose her ride. Maybe she doesn't deserve it because of the performance she's had. Well, again, she took that personally as well. Has had an incredible season. Multiple semifinal appearances, multiple final round appearances. Yet to get that Wally, and has eluded her because of either mechanical issues or driver errors or red lights like back at Bristol. Roof hatch was low for Bristol too. It turned almost into a convertible. But man, this team has been on rails. I expect this to be I thought this was a Coletta team with how it performed. No, it is a separate team. Running with DC Racing, the Bandero tequila car. I genuinely do believe by the end of the season, Alexis is going to hold a Wally at some point. She won the U.S. Nationals back in 2014. She could easily do it again.
Let me announce something there, brother.
Keep it clean.
How y'all doing today? Y'all have a good time? This is Swamp, Big Swamp from the South Side. Hoo, hoo.
Thank you. Move over here. Josh Hart Racing running the Technet colors this weekend. Had an incredible start to the season, winning the Pep Boys All-Star Call-Out back at Gainesville, his hometown race, and then since then has just fell off. Has not really had the performances that we expect out of him. You usually see him in the RNO colors, running Technet color cars this weekend, going to try and turn around and have a strong points performance going into the countdown. Moving down a row. One of our favorite guys. That being the Will Smith camp, Larry Dixon Racing, has had a good start to the weekend. Ran a 3.82. First off, he started to make the race back in Chicago. Failed to make it there. Second race of the season, going to try and make the U.S. Nationals after failing to make it last year. Currently qualified 12 with a 3.82. He wasn't too happy about that run. Thought he could do better. As we're going to try to speed this up. Thinks it's going to be a 3.7 second field. Really trying to get that 3.7 second time. Could easily do it this week with how well this car is running. Expect big things out of the Will Smith cam. But then lastly, we're going to speed this up before Josh Hart starts his car up again. Steve Torrence, the Capco boys. Number 6. And he ended the season number 6 on his number. That's where he finished the points. Was very upset with how that season went. Now we expect out of the Capco contractor boys has since then come back and has been one of the strongest performers. Justin Ashley's had multiple wins. We're going to see him in a second. Steve Torrence has not won as many races, but is right on his ass trying to win that Top Fuel World title and reclaim a spot as the king of Top Fuel. An incredible start to the weekend for him. Currently qualified number 1 going into Q number 2. Going to try and keep that up and score another U.S. Nationals victory. We're going to join you on the other side. Walking through kind of the concourse here. There's kind of a tight little alleyway between the two pits, but I wanted to record this real quick. Shout out to Nitro School, Alan Reinhardt up there teaching people about how Nitro cars work with the AB Motorsports cam. We'll see you on the other side. All right, so to wrap it up. Tony Schumacher, 10-time winner of the U.S. Nationals. Again, not a really good of a season that he would have wanted. Has not had the string of performances that he would have liked for Tony the Tiger. But again, 10-time U.S. Nationals winner. Could easily be the guy to upset everybody and get his 11th win here at Indianapolis. Justin Schrieffer, the funny car team. I'm not sure. I think I remember this car if I remember correctly. Yes, this car is not qualified in the U.S. Nationals because last night, during, I believe, the first pass of Funny Car, his car broke down. So he had to get out of the car, abandon it. They didn't make a run. Antron Brown, winner back at Brainerd, has had an incredible strong run of performances. I believe he's 3rd in the Top Fuel points, if I remember correctly. We're going to take a break and let them finish warming up. All right, let's finish this up because they just did a warm-up and they just gassed this entire section of the pits. So Antron Brown, strong performances for him. I expect him to be a front runner, especially as a reigning U.S. Nationals champion. Ron Capps debuted the Don Perdome Snake throwback body. Hey, I made a video about that unveiling. I got to ask some questions to Don and Ron. Be sure to go watch that because I believe that was a really good video. So, strong qualifying performance for him in the Q number 1. Is very, very confident that they could win this event, especially with the fact that Don Perdome is saying that he could win another U.S. Nationals because of the fact that they are back together. Right now, he's qualified in the 4th position, could easily improve on that and put the Snake car in victory lane. Moving down over here, you have the AB pit side experience. They share it with Antron Brown, but this is the Davis Motorsports Justin Ashley Racing team. This team has been on fire this season. Lost the Top Fuel Championship last season. Not what they would have wanted. It now finds himself just straight dominating the championship. Right now fighting Steve Torrence for the Top Fuel points lead. But again, multiple wins in a season. If this is not the season that Justin Ashley wins the championship after how last year ended, then I don't know how this kid's going to win it. But he definitely has one coming. Down here, we got Cruz Pedregon. Had an open house this past week to get ready for the U.S. Nationals. Had it was a really cool event. But it doesn't change the fact he has not really had the season that he would have wanted. He qualified number 1 at the World Finals last year at Pomona, went on to win the race. A lot of people looked at that as saying, like, oh, hey, he's probably going to win a lot of races this season. He could be one of the guys to bring into the top 3. Nope, did not happen. Had a strong qualifying number 1 performance back at Pomona for the World Nationals. Since then, we have not really seen much out of this team for the Snap-on Dodge team. It could very easily change. He's won the U.S. Nationals before. He knows how to get it done. But if not, I could very much expect him to win the World Finals yet again. You see Tony Schumacher on a scooter trying not to get ran over by him. Lastly, Jim Dunn Racing. Alex Laughlin. He came into the season. He raced Top Fuel last year, raced Pro Stock before that. Has ran just about everything he could have. The only thing he hasn't done is ridden on the motorcycle. But even then, no, that was Will Smith. That was the motorcycle license. The Jim Dunn Racing car. A big boost in the budget for these guys, especially considering last year they didn't have as many sponsors. Now they got guys like Haviland. They got guys like Power Built Tools, Speed Society. They got Hot Wheels. A lot of teams are now on this car because of the deal with Alex Laughlin. They have not had a strong performance. They've had a couple good runs. I believe they had a strong performance back at, Pomona for the Nationals was their best run when they made out of the first round. I believe they might have won the second round too. But again, they're going to try and want to perform better. But again, with the tight budget the team performs on, they can't really do much. And yeah, that's going to end it. I'll wait for him to finish up. So good. Sorry, a lot of things to do, a lot of things to see in here. You can choke on nitro fumes as well. Pro's about to go out. You might be wondering, why are we going to go back there? It's Pro Mods, and I don't know much about it. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I know this is a mess I've never done this before, and it is crazy back here, so it is impossible to try and work your way around here. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Mighty Mac, and I'll see you later today.